sitting in a heavy fog, stationary at the traffic lights. I engage in arguments with myself just so I can pass the time. I'm progressing, taking steps to resist, going down the wrong route and off the edge of a cliff, managing to stay within my lane but tempted to drift, getting swept by the wind and turn endless abyss. Yes.
So I'm delighted to have our guest here today. I'd just like you to introduce yourself and where you're from.
Okay, I'm Rory OB. I'm originally from Oban, but I'm based in Glasgow, and I live here basically. I do everything here, do everything in Glasgow.
So you've had a lot of time to think and flourish creatively as a solo artist, Rory, but you've had a lot of desire as well to keep collaborating with a blend of different artists and genres. How much has working with different musicians helped you grow your own ideas?
I suppose like over the years, obviously I used to be in bands like Busker Rhymes, for instance, and kind of I think working with other musicians like that, it kind of helps you become kind of a lot tighter, and it gets you a lot more kind of used to working with other ideas. Whereas if you're kind of by yourself all the time, you're almost kind of caged in a little bit. I mean, there's still certain people that there's kind of like a group of artists that I'll more or less collaborate with, if you know what I mean. Because I think I've kind of bounced off these people better than other people. Mm-hmm.
And I think as well, when you're collaborating with other people, you're constantly evolving, I feel, you know, and
definitely.
You have a certain idea about the way things should go, but then somebody can say something to you and you're like, oh wait, that makes sense actually.
Yeah, it goes, so that, see, like when, for instance, if it was like Busker Rhymes, a lot of the tunes I'd write them to begin with, and then at the end of them they sounded kind of completely different from what I wanted them to sound, from how I pictured them, but like in a good way, you know.
Do you get quite protective when you've created a song about no changing it or altering it?
No, not really. I know a lot of people do. I think there's two types of people that you get when they kind of form bands. You get people that have an idea of what they want it to sound like, and then they're quite kind of like authoritarian almost. I've always been kind of a bit different and willing to kind of let ideas evolve when I'm working with people. So I recognise that when you choose to work with people, I think it's like a collaboration. Unless it's always like paying session musicians, it's always like a collaboration. So I'm always up for kind of things changing anyway, and anything I write.
Aye, no, I'd agree with you on that. So I first heard you playing an acoustic set with Busker Rhymes around 4 years ago, and something I found immediately with you is how you have like a talent for rubbing your thoughts and feelings onto an audience. How do you find the process of being open with your listeners?
I suppose I find it easier than I would being like dishonest with them, if you know what I mean. I always find it really difficult to write about something that maybe wasn't true, and I've always find it a lot easier to kind of delve deeper into how I feel and explore the way I feel. If you know what I mean, I've never really had like a problem with that. It's something that comes kind of reasonably kind of easy to me, apart from when I hit like a writer's block or something.
And I think as well with your music is it does have a lot of bravado and a lot of high energy, but there's moments where it's quite vulnerable.
Yeah.
And I think people can really relate to that as well.
Yeah.
And you can go from one emotion to the next.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So you can both rap and sing, and they're expressed extremely well with your lyrics. How different does the writing process feel when comparing the two?
It's weird because I think sometimes it depends if I'm just doing one or the other. So I'm just writing raps or poetry. It's kind of different in the sense that it's like I don't have to add a melody to it, and I don't have to, I see if I'm singing, I don't have to, like, if I'm doing a song that's all singing, I don't have to write as much words, so it's like a lot easier to write, basically. Lyrically, it's a lot easier to write. I mean, with the kind of rap and stuff, I'm usually writing it for something that I've already written that's got singing in it, so they're kind of combined almost anyway. I think with like the Romana stuff that I'm doing, a lot of the stuff that I do in that is rapping, so I suppose then it's different it's different then because I can write a lot of it like on the bus as well. I can't do that with melodic stuff as well. I can write a lot of it when I'm on the go or when I'm out and about or when I'm on the bus as well.
I think as well with rap is that it tends to flow a lot easier, the words come out, but with songwriting, singing perspective, it can be quite, like, you need to think about everything you're doing.
Yeah.
And once you write a half of a song, you want it to be as consistently good the
Aye.
next half, you know?
yeah.
Because you're like, oh, I've wrote this really good song, but I need to finish it. And
Yeah,
it's like,
totally.
No, I'm not gonna do.
I think sometimes as well, you kind of you become like, say, sometimes I can write, and this happens with kind of both of them. I think I'll write something, and I become that fixated on it being good that it'll take ages for me to write the rest of it. Whereas sometimes if I don't think about it that much, I can write something like can write a song very, 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 very quickly. Sometimes some of the best songs are the ones that I've written very, very quickly as well. And some, like, you know, sometimes ones that take ages, you look at them after it and you're like, oh, I don't know about that, you know.
See, do you find that when you're writing a song that you have to get it finished there and then? Can you come back to a song?
I can come back to it. Yeah, I usually do come back to it, to be honest. I usually kind of, see if I'm stuck with something, I won't sit and kind of wind myself up about it. I'll just close it and then come back to it. And that's worked a lot better for me than, like, banging my head off a wall in the bedroom because I'm trying to get something finished.
How is it you go through the process of writing a song then, in terms of, like, do you record like a note, a voice note or whatever? Or?
No, what I'll do is sometimes I'll kind of come up, I'll sit and kind of mess about with my guitar, and I'll sometimes come up with like a riff or something, and I'll maybe start to sing different kind of melodies over it, and then something will kind of spark sometimes. If I think I'm not going to remember it, I'll just film it on my phone and then I'll watch it back again, basically. Or if I think of a guitar riff that I really like and I really want to use, and I know I'm not going to remember it, it's quite intricate, I'll just film myself doing it so I can watch it back. Basically, that's how I do it.
Aye. So you dedicate a lot of your time to your other group, the Romanas.
Mm-hmm.
Creatively, how does it work differently from a solo project between the both of you when you're creating something together?
So I think when we started out, the Romanas originally was we were just kind of, so it's with my friend Rihanna from Oban. She's like a really good friend of mine. So we started just kind of sitting together, and then she had ideas from that she'd written like a little while back because she'd not been songwriting for a wee while. So we kind of sat and like arranged them and kind of. Then we'd add kind of like rap verses into them, and then when lockdown hit, it was like a kind of back and forth thing. We were just sending ideas back and forth all the time, and we're working with a producer just now to release an EP. But I suppose it works that way. But we can sit together as well. Me and Rihanna have got quite a good rapport, so we can just sit together and kind of write together. There's no like kind of, I think sometimes when you sit together there's like a bit of like you need to like kind of break the ice a little bit, and that doesn't really happen when I sit and write with her, so it's good.
And I think that's it's a rare thing to have as well sometimes, that when you feel that kind of like natural side to being with somebody, like, and just letting it flow.
Aye,
you know,
definitely, yeah.
So stylistically, I really admire and enjoy the type of genres you've been involved in with your music. But I think you're a prolific songwriter as well. Is it a challenge to write captivating lyrics on a consistent basis?
It can be, because I think it can be a challenge to write anything on a consistent basis, because sometimes I go through phases where I'm like, I think really, really creatively, and then I go through phases. I think everyone as an artist goes through phases where they just doubt themselves constantly, and they just don't think that they're kind of, you're constantly kind of jumping over a hurdle to get back into it again, because you don't know, you're like, I don't know if it's kind of worth going on with this, I don't know if I'm going to get my spark back for it, and then like sometimes you do, and I think that's just kind of part of the process of it, really, though. But it's quite hard to write stuff that's up to a standard that I want it to be, like on a regular basis. Usually what will happen is I'll write like a block of songs at a time, and then I'll kind of lose it for a little while, and I use the time when I've lost it to try and record it all. That's usually kind of what happens.
And see, like with a song, so for example, you say you're halfway through a song and you think, I don't like this. Do you can follow through a bit, or do you just bin it?
I've not really. I'll usually try and kind of follow through with it, I think, to see what happens. I don't usually, if there's something I don't like, I never usually get to the halfway point with it, to be honest. I usually kind of know roughly at the start that like, you know, I'm not overly keen on it. I'll try and finish it though, and then what I'll do is I'd probably try and go back to it and then see, like in a couple of months' time, and see sometimes when I go back to it, I actually think of better ideas for it and I make it better anyway.
So what is it you would like to be doing this year with music, Rory?
So I'm actually working on an EP just now, a 4-track one called The Sun Will Rise. That's kind of, it's got like some rappy stuff on it, but it's predominantly kind of like indie folky sort of stuff. I'm also working on an EP with the Romanas. We're doing like a 5-track EP just now. I don't want to say too much about it because we're going to studio at the end of the month, and then I want to kind of, after that, I want to kind of like start promoting it properly and stuff like that. So we're doing an EP, and we've got like we've got a lot of the stuff down for it already though. We just need to go into studio, and we're working with the producer on it as well.
Does you have any thoughts in your minds about the return of live music? Is there something you'd like to do?
I think like if and when it does return, I'd like to go out back out gigging again like immediately. To be honest, I'm hoping to kind of book myself for get booked for as much as I can as soon as it starts up again. Yeah.
And I hope as well with the return of live music that especially kind of local gigs as well, they have a big boom. I hope that happens, you know what I mean? I hope people are just eager to get out there and see things, you know?
Yeah.
Definitely.
Oh, definitely. I think like everywhere will be mobbed as soon as the live music thing starts again. I don't think there'll be any gig that's empty.
So it's been great having you on, Rory. How can we find you online?
So you can find me on Instagram. I'd imagine I'll be tagged in this video. It's Rory OB with 2 E's after it, and then I'm on Twitter. My tag's the same. It's just Rory OB with 2 E's after it, and then Facebook's facebook.com/Rory OB music. So. I'm on Spotify as well, but the stuff I've got on Spotify isn't great. Although I recently did a collaboration with a guy called Will Atkinson that's on Spotify on his album The Last King of Scotland, so you can check that out as well.
That's brilliant, Rory. Thanks so much for coming on.
Okay, thank you. Thanks very much for having me.